What Moscow, Beijing and Delhi think of Biden v. Trump rematch. When Americans choose their next president, the contest is always closely watched around the world. There are countless ways U.S. foreign policy and the actions of the White House has an impact on different parts of the globe. American influence abroad is sure to play a part in the first debate between Joe Biden and Donald Trump on Thursday. But it's not just in Ukraine, Israel, and Gaza that this election matters. 8 of the BBC's foreign correspondents explain why this election rematch is making waves where they are. Russians will watch closely for Instability by Steve Rosenberg, Russia editor, Moscow. Imagine you're Vladimir Putin. Who would you prefer in the White House? The man who's called you a killer and pledged to stand by Ukraine. That's Joe Biden. Or the candidate who has criticized U.S. military assistance to Kyiv and said he'd encourage Russia to do whatever the hell they want to any NATO member country that doesn't meet defense spending guidelines, a certain Donald Trump. Always keen to surprise, the Kremlin leader has gone on record as saying he'd actually prefer Joe Biden to keep his job because of his predictability. Such a public endorsement, though, should be taken with an extremely large pinch of Russian salt. Moscow is likely to view the election of a NATO skeptic, Ukraine skeptic US president as 3 lemons for Russia on the geopolitical fruit machine. Not that there's a guaranteed payout for Moscow. The Kremlin was left disappointed by the first Trump presidency. In 2016, one Russian official admitted to me having celebrated Trump's victory with a cigar and a bottle of champagne. But the champagne went flat. The Russian authorities had expected an improvement in Russia-US relations. That never materialized. Who's to say a second Trump presidency wouldn't leave Moscow feeling similarly underwhelmed? Whoever wins the race for the White House, the Russian authorities will be watching closely for signs of post-election political instability and polarization in America, and looking for ways to benefit. By Laura Bicker, China correspondent, Beijing. Both candidates are vying to be tough on Beijing and have similar economic policies to combat China's rise, including raising tariffs on cheap Chinese goods. But they have very different approaches to dealing with China's regional influence. Biden has shored up relationships there in the hope that a united front sends a clear message to an increasingly assertive Beijing. But when president, Trump focused less on being a statesman and more on what he saw was the best deal. He threatened to remove U.S. troops from South Korea unless Seoul paid Washington more money. The biggest difference between the two is on Taiwan. On multiple occasions, Biden has reiterated a pledge to come to the self-governing island's defense if President Xi makes good on his promise to reunify Taiwan with the mainland, by force if necessary. But Trump has accused Taiwan of undermining American businesses, and he has expressed opposition to a U.S. bill which sent aid there. That led some to question whether he would be willing to come to Taipei's aid if needed. When the U.S. votes, China is unlikely to have a favorite in the fight. In Beijing's view, an unpredictable Trump could weaken and divide U.S. allies in the region. But he could also create another trade war. They won't be too keen on another 4 years of Biden either. They believe his alliance building has the potential to create a new Cold War. There is perhaps no foreign country for whom the U.S. election matters more than Ukraine. Everyone knows U.S. support in the form of money and weapons has been vital in sustaining Ukraine's war effort. Few believe that Europe could quickly or easily step into any gap. But here in Kyiv, most people are less focused on the ins and outs of the campaign than you would expect. That is because, as one person told me, November feels a long way away. There are more pressing concerns as cities come under attack from Russian glide bombs, and as Ukrainian forces battle to prevent Russian advances. They are very aware of what is being said about Ukraine during the campaign. When it comes to Donald Trump, analysts here know he has talked about bringing an end to a war, and that there is talk of cutting aid. While some fear he could force Ukraine into a deal, it does not like. Experts caution that what will matter is what someone does in office, not what they say during the campaign or in a debate. And there is an understanding that even a Joe Biden win will not prevent challenges, given how long it took to get the last aid package passed by Congress. So the stakes for Ukraine are high, but it remains only a spectator, and unpredictability is something Ukrainians have long learned to live with. Policymakers in the UK tell me they are looking at the US election with some trepidation. On one level, there is a nervousness about